Welcome to this lecture on rules of inference. In this lecture, we are going to see certain descriptive examples. In the previous lecture, we have seen how to check the validity of an argument using rules of inference. In the previous lecture, all the examples that we took were defined mathematically. In other words, all those examples which we talked about in the previous lecture were explained in the formal language. The premises and their conclusions were listed out using the mathematical logic, symbols and expressions. What if problems that we have to solve, or what if the arguments that we have to check the validity of are defined informally? What to do in such cases? So if you have been given an argument whose validity you have to verify, and the argument has been given to you in the form of an informal argument, instead of listing it out formally, say for example, instead of listing P implies Q, if you have been given, if it is raining then we will stay home. So basically what I'm trying to say is, if the problem or the argument that has been given to you is not listed, the premises are not listed formally, but they are listed in the form of paragraphs informally, then how to solve the question or how to check the validity of the argument. Now the simple method of doing this is by first converting the informal argument, the argument that has been given to you informally, to the formal argument. Now how do we do that? We do that by starting to list all the premises that have been given over here. And before we can list all the premises, we have to identify the prepositions. So we begin by identifying the prepositions. Second, we list the premises formally, and then we can apply the rules of inference to check the validity of the argument. So we'll see that with the help of certain examples. So let's start. We have to check the validity of this argument. If it rains, I don't go to work. If I don't go to work, I get fired. I'm not getting fired today, therefore it is not raining. Now I have to check the validity of the statement. Once again, going through the process that we talked about in the previous slide, we will solve it in 3 steps. We will begin with, to prove the validity of the argument, what we'll do is, we'll introduce appropriate propositional variables. Now you can see, if it rains, so it rains is a proposition. I don't go to work or I go to work is another proposition. I get fired is another proposition. So what do we have to do first is, we have to identify the propositions. So that's what I'm going to do over here. So there are 3 propositions that we can identify over here. Number 1, it rains. Let's identify it by P. I go to work. Let's identify it by Q. And I get fired. Let's identify it by R. Now the next step after we have identified the propositions is to rewrite this argument that has been given informally here, informal argument, in formal manner. We have P implies not of Q. This is the given premise. P implies not of Q. It says, if it rains, I don't go to work. If it rains, I do not go to work. P implies negation of Q. This is the given premise. Negation of Q implies R. If I do not go to work, I get fired. If I do not go to work, I get fired. If I do not go to work means negation of Q. I get fired means R. So negation of Q implies R. So this is my second given premise. I am not getting fired today, or I do not get fired. So the third premise is negation of R. So this is once again the given premise. So, and what is the conclusion? It is not raining. The conclusion that we have to verify is, it is not raining, negation of P. Now once we have done it over here, once we have identified the premises formally, it becomes easy for us to apply the laws of inference, rules of inference that we have listed over here to identify, to come over to the conclusion. Let us see. P implies not of Q, negation of Q implies R, and negation of R. Now I have P implies negation of Q and negation of Q implies R. Now I can apply hypothetical syllogism on these two. You can see over here, hypothetical syllogism says if P implies Q and Q implies R, transitively P implies R. So I can say P implies negation Q implies R. So therefore P implies R. So that is what I get over here. From by using hypothetical syllogism on 1 and 2, I get P implies R. And I have negation of R over here. Negation of R is a given premise. So I have P implies R and I have negation of R. So you can apply modus tollens over here. P implies Q and negation of Q. P implies R and negation of R. So therefore I can draw the conclusion negation of P. That means it is not raining. This was the conclusion that we started off to try to validate. So we have validated it, that the conclusion it is not raining is true. So this is the valid argument. Let's see another example. It is not sunny this afternoon and it is colder than yesterday. We will go swimming only if it is sunny. If we do not go swimming, then we will take a canoe trip. If we take a canoe trip, then we will be home by sunset. Using these inference, we have to come up to the conclusion, or we have to verify the conclusion, we will be home by sunset. So we will once again begin by identifying the propositions. So the propositions are: it is sunny this afternoon, identified by P. It is colder than yesterday, identified by Q. We will go swimming, identified by R. We will take a canoe trip, identified by S. We will be home by sunset, identified by T. Now once we have identified the propositions, these are the propositions. So the next step is to rewrite the premises and the conclusion formally. So it is not sunny and it is colder than yesterday. It is not sunny. So I have negation of P. P says it is sunny. So it is not sunny says negation of P. And it is not sunny. So this is negation of P. And it is colder than yesterday. Q. So this is my first premise. We will go swimming only if it is sunny. So if it is sunny, we will go swimming only if it is sunny. R implies P. If we do not go swimming, negation of R, then we will take the canoe trip. So this is S. So negation of R implies S. If we take a canoe trip, S, then we will be home by sunset. So we will be home by sunset. So we have listed all the premises and the conclusions formally. Now I can very easily apply the various rules of inferences to come up to the conclusion. So we have negation of P implies Q as the premise. Negation of P or Q. So negation of P or Q, I can apply the simplification rule over here. Negation of P and Q. I have negation of P and Q over here. Now I can apply the simplification rule over here. If this is true, then negation P must be true. So by applying simplification rule, I come at negation P and Q. I get this derived premise negation P. So what it means informally, it is not sunny and it is colder than yesterday. So I can say it is not sunny. Obviously, this is given in the premise itself. Now the second premise says R implies P and I have negation of P over here, which I have already derived. So by using modus tollens, by using modus tollens over these two, by using modus tollens over these two, I can come at this negation of R. So R is, so we do not go swimming. it is not sunny this afternoon and it is colder than yesterday. So from there I came to it is not sunny, and we say we will go swimming only if it is sunny. So if it is not sunny, we are not going to swimming, right? Negation of R. Then again a premise says negation R implies S. I have negation R implies S and I have negation R. So I can apply modus ponens over these two. I can apply modus ponens over these two to come over S. Right? So now I have come upon the derived premise S. Once again, I have yet another given premise, that is S implies T. This is my given premise. Now I have S implies T. Once again, I can apply modus ponens to come up to T, which was the required conclusion. This was the required conclusion. We will be home by sunset. This was the conclusion that we started off to check, and we have come upon the conclusion. So this is a valid argument. If it is Saturday today, then we play soccer or football. If the soccer field is occupied, we do not play soccer. It is Saturday today and the soccer field is occupied, then we play basketball or volleyball. This is the conclusion. So once again, we start by identifying the propositions and writing the premises formally. So it is Saturday today, let's call it P. We play soccer, let's call it Q. We play basketball, let us call it R. If the soccer field is occupied, let us call it S. We do not play soccer. We have already mentioned soccer over here. Saturday today, soccer field is occupied. Soccer or basketball, right? Basketball we have already used. Volleyball, let's call it T. So we can identify the propositions. It is Saturday today. P, we play soccer. Q, we play basketball. S, we play volleyball. T. Now the premises, if it is Saturday today, then we play soccer or volleyball. First premise, right? You can see it over here. If the soccer field is occupied, we do not play soccer. Okay? If the soccer field is occupied, we do not play soccer. Second premise, it is Saturday today and the soccer field is occupied. I can either write it P and S, or I can write it in the form of two different premises. Does not make any difference because I can later on apply conjunction. If P and Q, then P and Q. So I can write it in either way. We play basketball. This is the conclusion. We play basketball or this the conclusion is we play basketball or volleyball. This is what we need to prove. So let's begin. So P implies Q or R is our premise. P is our premise. I can either write P and S as separate premises, or I can introduce a step over here. I can write P and S given premise, and then I can say P by using the conjunction. Sorry, P and S I can write as from the simplification. I can write P simplification of this premise, right? So I'll get P from here. So P implies Q or R, and P, that means I'll use modus ponens over here. I'll use modus ponens over here. So I'll get Q or R. Again, another premise that we have is S implies negation of Q. Once again, I can also derive S from here by again simplification of this premise. This premise is giving me two things. Say if P and S is true, obviously P is true and S is true. Both of them are true. So S implies negation of Q. This is the given premise. And S, either I can take it as a given premise or I can bring it from here. So this two, by using modus ponens, once again will give me negation of Q. S implies negation of Q, and S applying modus ponens, this will give me negation of Q. Now I have Q and Q or R. I have Q or R and I have negation of Q. So I can apply disjunctive syllogism. I can apply disjunctive syllogism on them to come up to R. So from Q or R and negation of Q, I can say R. Disjunctive syllogism by using this. And if R is true, the addition rule says if R is true, anything ORed with R is also true. The addition rule says if P is true, then P or Q is true. So if R is true, then R or T is true. So this is the conclusion that we started off to verify. So we can say that once again, this is a valid argument. Let's see another example. If it does not rain or it is not foggy, then the sailing race will be held and the life-saving demonstration will go on. If the sailing race is held, then the trophy will be awarded. The trophy was not awarded implies, from here we start the conclusion, it rained. Once again, process will remain the same. We begin by identifying the propositions. Rain, let's call it R. Foggy, let's note it by F. Sailing race, let's call it S. Life-saving demonstration, let's call it L. Trophy, let's call it T. So it rains today, R. It is foggy, F. Sailing race will be held, S. Life-saving demo will go on, L. And the trophy will be awarded, T. Now we can identify the premises. I can check out the premise over here. If it does not rain, negation of R, or it is foggy, F, or sorry, it is not foggy. If it does not rain or it is not foggy, then the sailing race will be held. This is the first premise. Sailing race will be held and the life-saving demonstration will go on. This is the first premise. This is the first statement. Line number 1 from here to here is identified by this. If the sailing race is held, then the trophy will be awarded. This is the line number 2. If the sailing race is held, then the trophy will be awarded. The third line says the trophy was not awarded, negation of T. Therefore, this is the conclusion that we want to verify. It rained. That means R. So let's see how it is shown. Negation of R. This is the hypothesis, or this is the given premise. This is the given premise. This is the given premise. So I have S implies T as the given premise and negation of T as the given premise. I can apply modus tollens on these. I can apply modus tollens on this to come up to negation of S. Now I have negation of S over here. Now I can apply the addition rule. Addition rule says if P is true, anything odd with P is also true. So if negation of S is true, then I can OR anything to negation of S, it will always remain true. So negation of S, I obtain negation of S or negation of L. Now negation of S or negation of L. Now remember De Morgan's law. De Morgan said if A, negation of A or B is equivalent to negation of A and negation of B, and negation of A and B is equivalent to negation of A or negation of B, right? Now see negation of S or negation of L. Now I can add a line over here. If I want, I can add a line over here between 5 and 6. Let's call it 5.5. I can write it like if I have negation of S or negation of L. Negation of S or negation of S. L. Sorry, it can be written as negation of S and L by De Morgan's law. Now I have negation of S or L. Negation of S or L. See modus tollens. See modus tollens. Modus tollens says P implies Q. P implies Q, and I have negation of Q. So what I get it, let's call it, let's add another line over here. Let us say 5.6. So I get negation of, if I have P implies Q and I have negation of Q, that gives me negation of P. So I have negation of R or negation of F. So once again, if you apply De Morgan's over here, you get negation R and negation F, that is R and F over here. So if R and F is there, then I can apply simplification law over here. So I get R. This was the conclusion that we started off to verify. Let's see this example. If I get my paycheck, please see this example carefully. There is a twist in this example. If I get my paycheck and my mom lends me the car today, then I will go shopping. If I get to the bank before 4 p.m. and it is a Friday, I will get my paycheck. If my mom has the day off of work, she will lend me the car. Friday is my mom's day off, and it just so happens that today is Friday, therefore I will go to shopping today. Let's try to solve it. So we'll write the propositions like I got my paycheck. P, my mom lends me the car. Q, I will go shopping. R, I will get to the bank before 4 p.m. S, it is Friday. T, my mom has the day's work. U. Okay, so these are the propositions that we have identified. Now let us identify the premises. If I get my paycheck P and my mom lends me the car today, and Q, then I will go shopping, implies R. This is the first premise. If I get to the bank before 4 p.m. S, and it is a Friday, and T, then I get my paycheck, implies P. S and T implies P. Second premise. If my mom has the day off of work, U implies she will lend me the car. U implies Q. Friday is my mom's day off work. Now this statement actually means if it is a Friday, then it is my mom's day of work. So if it is a Friday, T, then it is my mom's day off, implies U, this premise. Today is Friday, T, and the conclusion is R. Now try to solve this question. I'll wait. I'll give you 10 seconds. Just think over this. Think over the question. Now the twist in this question is the argument is not valid. So it is not necessary that whatever question or whatever arguments you will be given, they will always be valid arguments. Now this is an invalid argument. If you try to verify the argument, whatever rules you might apply, you will never come upon the conclusion R. Right? Let us take an example. Here is a truth assignment that makes all the premises true, but the conclusion is false. Let us say P, Q, R, S, T. Let us check it against all the given premises. P and Q implies R. So the first premise, P and Q implies R. If you remember, P and Q will be false. False implies false will be true. Right? So the first premise is true. S and T implies P. S and T, once again false implies P, false implies false is again true. See, the second premise is also true. Third premise says U implies Q. U implies Q. True implies true. Again true. Fourth premise says T implies U. T implies U. Again true. And finally T again true. So all the critical rows, this is a critical row. This is a critical row, but the value of R over here is false. So this is an invalid argument. See, this corresponds to this particular situation where you do not get your paycheck, but your mother does lend you your car. You do not go shopping. This is just this scenario written informally. So this argument is an invalid argument. So do not work under the assumption that whatever arguments you have been given to verify are always valid arguments. You might get a problem like this also, that the argument that has been given to you is an invalid argument. So let us see a final question. Now this question is different in the sense that we have been given certain premises, but we have not been given the conclusion. Given the following information about a computer program, find the mistake in the program. Now here, by using the different premises, we have to find the conclusion. The conclusion is not given over here. So once again, we will apply the same method. We will first of all identify the propositions. These are the 4 known facts that are given to you. See, what this question actually means is that once, let us say you are decoding a particular program, and while decoding a particular program, you come across these facts that there is an undeclared variable. We are assuming that the program does not compile properly. So you know that the program has some error. Now, while debugging the program, you get certain clues. The clue number 1 says there is an undeclared variable, or there is a syntax error in the first 5 lines. That's why the program is not running or not compiling. The clue number 2 says if there is a syntax error in the first 5 lines, then there must be either a missing semicolon or a variable name is misspelled. The third clue says there is not a missing semicolon. In other words, all the missing semicolons are in place. There is no semicolon which is missing. And the final clue says that all the variable names have been spelled correctly, or there is not a misspelled variable name. Now using these 4 clues, you have to identify the error in the program. So we begin by identifying the propositions and writing the statement symbolically. Let's identify the 4 propositions. Undeclared variable, let's call it Z. Again, see, undeclared variable, we call it Z. Syntax error in the first 5 lines, we call it Y. Then missing semicolon, we are calling it X, and variable name is misspelled, we are calling it W. Now the next step, we write these statements that have been given to you A, B, C, D formally, right? Up to this part. See, there is an undeclared variable Z, or there is a syntax error Y. So this is the given premise. If there is a syntax error Y implies then there is a missing semicolon X, or a variable name is misspelled W. So this is again the second given premise. We have given them the same name A, B, C, D to match them with A, B, C and D. The third line says there is not a missing semicolon. So negation of X. Finally, the final line says there is not a misspelled variable name, which says negation of W. So these are the 4 given premises. Now, I have negation of X. I have negation of W. I have negation of X. I have negation of W. So I can apply the conjunction rule over here, which says if P and Q, then P and Q. So I can apply conjunction of C and D. By applying conjunction of C and D, I get this derived premise. Now once again, if you remember De Morgan's, what does De Morgan's law says? Negation of P and Q is equivalent to negation of P or negation of Q, and the dual says negation of P or Q is equivalent to negation of P and negation of Q. Now see, negation of X and negation of W. So by applying De Morgan's, I can say that this is equivalent to negation of X or W. Negation X and negation W is equivalent to negation of X or W. Once again, let me repeat, you have to apply not just these rules of inferences but also the equivalence laws. Now I have Y implies X or W, that is the given premise, and I have negation of X or W. Now I can apply the modus tollens over here. I can apply modus tollens over here. So by applying modus tollens over here, I get, how can I apply modus tollens? This says Y implies X or W, P implies Q, and I have negation of Q. So I get negation of Y. Modus tollens on B and 2. So I get negation of Y. Now I have Z or Y as a given premise. I have Z or Y as a given premise, and I have negation of Y as a derived premise. So I have Z or Y and I have negation of Y. So I can apply disjunctive syllogism on A and 3 to come up to the conclusion Z. Z says there is an undeclared variable. So we did not have any conclusion here to verify, but we have identified the conclusion. We have identified the error in the program. Now we can say that our program is not running because there is an undeclared variable. So this is, if you have been given a question or an argument in an informal manner, first of all you will have to convert it into a formal manner. Next, from the next lecture onwards, we are going to jump into the arena of predicate logic. That is one step ahead of propositional logic, which was what we were talking about till now. So till the next time, thank you.